before we even flew out, we put in an offer on the property contingent on us going out there flying to view the property.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason this whole trip happened so quickly was because we needed to go see that property within a week of us putting in our initial offer.
Yep.
Okay, so we found the property. You found the property, and then you had to talk me into it.
Yep.
But it was pretty easy to talk me into it because it was all of a sudden like we were just going to go to Alaska. Little vacation.
Yep.
We're going to finally visit the place that we want to move to that neither of us have ever been before. It was a good idea. Yeah. We got all of our stuff. We packed up, drove to the airport super early, got on a plane.
I don't
noon.
remember.
We got there around noon. So, which worked out good because we got to pick up our rental truck at noon.
Yeah, yep. Yep, just checked out Anchorage.
And we couldn't get into our motel until like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So we kind of had some time to kill. So we went to a few different, like parks
Trails
around Anchorage,
stuff,
some trails. Yeah. The first one that we went to was just like kind of a walking trail that we found. We started following a sidewalk and ended up being a trail, and it kind of like went along one of the main highways. And I mean, it was fine. I think we were still kind of just like, oh, we're in Alaska.
Yeah, and you
But-
can see all the mountains from there. And
Yeah,
don't really
that was
see
really
mountains
cool.
where we are.
Yeah, that was really cool. And then we went to like an actual park where we had to like park and got off on the trail. The earthquake park.
Mm.
So we kind of walked down there, which was interesting, and we got our first experience of the swarms of mosquitoes too.
Yeah.
That one was pretty bad.
And we were able to go look at the ocean and stuff too.
Yeah, which we got to see our first animal of the trip.
Ducks?
No, I mean we saw ducks. No, the beluga whales.
I know.
We got to see those. That was cool. That was fun.
Day 2.
Day 2. So day 2, we right away got up in the morning and started driving out to the property. Okay, thoughts about Alaska so far, specifically Anchorage.
Not a fan, too big. Similar to Madison.
Yes.
But we're on our way out.
Lots of one-ways. I hate one-way roads, so that's really annoying. But it is really cool because you get to see mountains everywhere.
Yeah, every direction.
And there's the water, but not for us.
We were able to try halibut, and we tried reindeer. Both were pretty good.
Yeah, I actually like the halibut way more than I thought I was going to.
And I like the reindeer way more than I thought I would. I was expecting deer, but
Reindeer, we were expecting it to taste like venison, and it didn't. But it was also made into like a sausage or like a brat. So that was kind of also not what I was expecting with that.
But it's 7:30 and we're heading out of Anchorage to go look at the property. Mainly look at the road on the access in, because I'm not sure if we can get in there or not.
Yeah. Ooh, but look at this view.
It's kind of foggy.
It's kind of foggy, but you can see the mountains. So pretty.
Do you have any concerns with the property?
Okay, biggest concern with the property is that road.
Yep.
Because it's unserviced. For 7 miles, it's unserviced. And then the fact that we keep being told only a truck can drive on it, which is not going to be convenient at all.
We got some bear spray, 'cause I know you're very concerned about that.
Well, we both should be concerned about the bears, but
We should be fine.
we're just going to be aware that they're a thing. That they could be there. I hope that we get there, we can drive all the way out to the property, we can walk around to the 4 corners, we can go down to the creek, and I hope it's all really nice, and we don't run into any bears.
Yep. I
Or
really
moose.
hope it works out.
But, yeah. I don't know.
We'll see how it goes.
There's really not much there, so it's just the road, I think. That's what it is.
Yeah, just the
got up right away in the morning and started driving from Anchorage up towards Talkeetna to meet our realtor off of the main highway there. And then he was going to drive us in towards our property so we can go view it. So we met him right off of the highway. He told us it's a few miles in off of the highway. He was only going to go about halfway in with us. And then at that halfway mark, he was going to basically give us a printed out sheet of paper with hand-drawn directions of how to go the rest of the way. And it is that specific reason of why he so highly encouraged us to get a GPS unit.
Yep.
So we kind of got partway into the woods. We said our goodbyes to the realtor, and then we took off by ourselves following this piece of paper into the woods. Turns out it wasn't that hard to follow the directions. I was pretty concerned about it.
Turn left at this stick.
There weren't that many turn off, but the GPS wasn't really important because otherwise we would have just kept driving. We wouldn't have known exactly where the property was because there wasn't any markers really.
No.
So
the bridge is great.
There's a bridge. It was after the realtor left us, and we later learned that this is why, really the reason why he didn't want to go the rest of the way with us.
Yeah.
I mean, he dropped us off very shortly before this bridge. And we knew there was going to be a bridge. He was talking about this bridge. It's so hard to know what to expect. So it's this homemade bridge right over this little creek. It's actually really pretty. The bridge wasn't super beautiful. But the scenery right there, just because there was water, it was pretty. It was like a nice little spot to stop and look at.
Yeah.
We decided that we would walk on the bridge first before driving over it. And I would have to say the entire time we drove over that bridge, I was holding my breath. And I was very
It creaked
scared.
a little bit, but it wasn't a big deal. It was fine.
We also learned then why you would have to have a four-wheel drive truck to get down the road, too.
It was very steep to get up to it there.
There was a lot of bumps, and it was there were spots where it got pretty steep. And, I mean, it would have been really challenging with a car. There probably would have been a few spots that you would have bottomed out because you just need the height that a truck has.
Yeah, for sure.
To get up there. But it also wasn't terrible either. I mean, you had to drive slow, and we were going especially slow because we had a white rental truck that we too late learned was not supposed to be driven on a gravel road.
Yeah.
Basically, we got to the property. The GPS units, we got the four corners of the property. I was able to put those in. We got there. It probably took us about half an hour to find the driveway.
Yeah, just walking up and around the property on the edge there, yeah.
So it's kind of like a corner property, but there's no true corner. It just has like an arch.
Yeah. We've got a road on three sides, basically.
Yeah. And we kept walking back and forth. And there was a lot of spots that we'd stop and think like, oh, is this the driveway? And then we'd walk into the woods a little ways, and this is definitely not the driveway. And then we finally found the real driveway. And a little ways in, it kind of made it obvious. There was just trees
you could tell it was
taller.
cut in at one point.
Yeah, there were just trees taller than us that were growing in the middle of the driveway.
Yeah.
But the ground was kind of like dug out a little. Like it was obviously the driveway part. Before we even found the driveway, though, we ran into a neighbor.
Oh, yeah. That guy was super nice.
Yeah.
Gave us a lot of information.
So as we were walking around the edge of the property, we, someone who lived in that area was driving down the road in his four-wheeler. So he was just kind of driving down. We were able to stop and talk to him for quite a while, kind of asked him about the area and other people who lived there. And I guess one of my biggest concerns there was the bears. So I was kind of curious about that. And it was it made me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
I mean, I was ready to say absolutely not to this property. Anyway, so we were able to stop. We talked to that one guy who lived just a couple miles down the road for a while. And it was shortly after talking to him, actually, that we found the driveway.
Yep.
So we were able to follow this driveway quite a ways into the property. Not halfway in, but maybe like a third of the way in.
Yeah.
And then we found the gravel pad of an area that was just cleared out. That potentially a house can get built there.
Potentially.
And it's at least a start of a clearing. We can't get anything out to that clearing yet because the driveway is overgrown.
We'll definitely be starting out around that time, though. We'll figure out where we need to build from there, but...
Yeah. Another thing that we were trying to keep an eye on when we were on the property was the trees. how many of the beetle kill trees were there, how
Wasn't that
many, just like the different types of trees and how big the diameter of the trunks were, which were actually way larger than I was expecting them to be.
Yeah, compared to what we've been seeing walking around Anchorage and whatever else. Really, the trees don't seem that huge compared to where we are here.
Yeah, so there wasn't as much beetle kill there either. So a lot of the trees were actually alive. There weren't as many standing dead ones. And then...
Mostly black spruce and birch.
Yeah. I feel like there's actually a pretty good mix of all the different types of trees and stuff. Things that we liked about the property.
Size. Road access.
Minimal.
Not swampy. It's all wooded, whole thing. That's probably about it. But
that's all you liked about the property?
There isn't much about it to like or dislike. It's just trees and dirt. That's all it is.
I liked the fact that there were neighbors around. I liked the fact that that river that is so close to our property is actually considerably like way further down in elevation, that we're kind of like up higher on it.
Won't have to worry about flooding ever. No,
yeah, flooding is not going to be an issue. The property is it's not totally flat. There is a lot of, not hills.
Yeah, the
but
front's front quarter is a lot lower than the rest of the property.
Yeah, there's a section that's way lower, but the side where we're looking at potentially where we would build seemed to be fairly flat.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I loved the fact that we found blueberries.
Yeah.
I thought that was so cool. And it's right on the road, so it's like super easy to get to. There's a lot to discover there still. A lot that we don't know what's all there. But
we found a bear track, he wouldn't have moved.
No. We saw a lot of moose tracks though, so that was really cool. It was just really cool. It was cool to in person see a moose track and it was as big as my hand was.
Yeah.
It was ginormous. The biggest downfall to the property though is the well.
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest issue with the property, is that it doesn't have a well on it. There's no access to water. You were super excited. This is the first thing that was even close to being in our price range. And the only reason it was is because it didn't have a house.
That had land even.
Yeah, I think
5 acres or smaller.
Our priority was we definitely wanted land. And clearly that was more important than actually having a house.
I guess. That's how it turned out.
Yeah. Ultimately it's what we wanted. If we bought a small 5-acre plot with a house on it, it's going to be you can't buy the surrounding land. It's just not an option. So we were looking at an area that we would just start off with that much land, and then if we ever decided, we can always change our mind.
Yeah.
But the biggest downfall is it doesn't have a water source. So we stood there on that gravel pad, made the decision that we were going to buy the property on the one condition that we were going to go back into town and start calling a whole bunch of different well services. And we shook on it. You made me shake on it.
Did I?
Yes. I have a video of you making me shake on the fact that we would only buy the property.
You were quite nervous. And
I was nervous.
You weren't
it was a lot. It was a lot more than I was expecting it to be. But we shook on it. We were only going to buy the property if we were 100% guaranteed able to get a well drilled out there.
Yeah.
More on that later. After looking at the property, we met back up with the realtor. Kind of told him we were interested. We went over to his place of business. And then we started making phone calls. I guess we asked the realtor for some advice on who we can go to, who we can start calling. Kind of got some answers there. We had one company tentatively said yes, but they just needed more information.
They said yes, they could do it. They just didn't have a good price estimate for us at the time. But they were confident they could because they had an off-grid rig.
So with that minimal information, we bought the place.
Yeah.
We spent the rest of the day after looking at the property and buying it. We went all the way up to Talkeetna, kind of walked around. We were tourists for the day.
That one restaurant we went to with the burger, that was really good.
That was really good, yeah. We then decided to keep driving up a little bit towards Denali. We didn't go super far into the park or anything, but we stopped at a couple different places and sight saw and did a few really short trails.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was good. And then on the way back home is when we saw our first moose.
Yep.
On the side of the road. Which, one thing that didn't even occur to me was that on this day that we went and we viewed our property was the summer solstice. It was pretty cool. I remember waking up at 4 o'clock the next morning, and I mean, it was just like dusk. Everything was still light outside, and
yeah,
it was kind of cool. Something that we didn't even realize we were going to be able to experience. We kind of got to experience the daylight aspect of that too. I kind of feel bad saying this, but the third day was my favorite.
Yeah. Went down to Seward. That was such a pretty drive.
Yeah. We took the entire day to just drive all the way down to Seward. Instantly, we knew that when we lived here, we were every single person that, like everyone that came and visited us, we were going to take them on this drive because it's so pretty. Like, we just wanted everyone to experience it. I found my favorite spot ever on the mile. I can't remember what mile marker number it was.
I don't remember.
Don't you remember when we stopped and like you walked on that little trail and you looked and it was just the mountains and the lake?
Oh,
and,
yeah, that lake.
It was so pretty. It probably wasn't a lake. It was probably just a river off of the ocean or something. But it was beautiful.
It had to be off the ocean because it was so blue, so it had to be brackish water.
Pretty. Oh, that is the photos that I took there, I'm pretty sure are a background on my phone still because it was so pretty.
Yeah.
So it was actually while we were down in Seward, though, that we got the 100% guarantee confirmation and our first estimated quote on the well, that it would be about $15,000 to get the well drilled on the property, which at that point, you were thinking that was a lot of money.
We already signed for the property at that point, so I mean...
that was a lot of money. The $15,000 quote seemed like a lot, but we had just bought the property. There was kind of no going back, and it was still... we could still make it
still
work.
Within budget.
It was
fine.
Else,
so.
It wasn't within budget. We no matter what it was, we would have to intentionally save the money for it. But it was doable.
Mm-hmm.
It was doable, and it didn't cause too much anxiety, I would say.
Right.
Yeah, not much happened on day 4, but day 4 we were already flying back to Wisconsin. It was good. The trip was good. We accomplished everything we wanted to accomplish, I would say. But a few things have changed. The biggest one was shortly after coming back home, we got an updated quote for the well, which was not very fun and was very stressful. Where basically they came back saying that they would, because of that bridge that we had to cross, they'd need to use an off-grid rig, which is more expensive than their normal ones, which basically made it 3 times more expensive. So we were looking at, into the $40,000 range, potentially for our well. So that was kind of a really big freak out moment for that. It took us a long time to kind of process that and figure out how we were going to go about that. We're still guaranteed that they can get the well drilled.
Yes.
So that's good. So no matter what, we're going to get a well. It's just how soon or how late, we don't know for sure. Our initial plans were to move last August, and that's not happening anymore. Specifically just because it didn't have the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we weren't going to move without a house right before winter. That's silly.
Yeah. I guess another change that's kind of happening from just our game plan of moving forward is what we're doing with the current house that we're living in right now. So originally we were planning on keeping the house that we're in right now and renting it out. Mm-hmm. Just as like a steady income that we could have, something to rely on while we're living and building our home in Alaska.
Something to fall back on if we needed to move back.
But I would say that because of this new price with the well, that's definitely a huge factor of why we've kind of made the decision to sell the house instead.
And just how the market is right now, it makes more sense to sell than rent.
We both kind of had accepted the fact that we were really going to try to move there in August or September, and then we're here again for another winter. Which is the smart thing to do. I would definitely not want to move there, but I think we're just ready to do something different, no matter how crazy it is or not. So we're going to be driving to Alaska in a truck with a pop-up camper and a 26-foot long trailer. Everything that we have needs to fit on that. The next thing we have to do is pack everything into the camper, onto the trailer.
Yes, yeah.
In the most organized,
dense
way we can possibly figure out how to do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a struggle. But right now, tentatively, the date to start driving is May 14th.
That's the plan.
Right? We'll see what happens, I guess. I mean, we bought the GoPro to go on this trip because with this whole idea of us moving to Alaska and being super far away from family, we kind of wanted to be able to do like update videos to just show friends and family, I guess, of what we're doing. And I mean, even for us too, I mean, we're doing something crazy.
Yeah, it'd be nice to be able to look back at all the things we do.
Yeah, and that was one thing that I learned when I was putting together, like when we bought the house that we're in right now, we bought it as a fixer-upper house that was in really rough shape. And our goal from the beginning that I knew I had was to take update and progress photos and videos throughout the entire process. Well, that process was 4 years long, and I didn't really have what I was going to do with all these photos and videos in mind. So when we were done with the house and I was trying to put it all together, it just didn't work, and it was really poorly done, and I did a terrible job. But what I did have was really cool. It was kind of like fun to go back and to see the progress. And that was just with the house. I mean, we're changing every aspect about our lives.
Yeah.
That I think just being able to have some sort of a log to go back to see where we started, it's going to be cool. But then also, how many times are we going to mess up? How many times are we going to change our mind? How many times are things not going to go to plan? Because those three things is basically also how everything happens. I mean, nothing ever works out the way that we want it to, and everything takes 3 times longer than we want it to. I mean, if anything, just to go back and laugh at ourselves, I think would be kind of fun too. So, definitely not comfortable talking in front of a camera at all.
No.
Not in the slightest bit. Don't really have any experience with video editing. But we're going to try, see how it goes. Hopefully someone enjoys it, even if it's just us.
It's just for us.
It is. These videos are really just for us, and then also like my parents and the odd friend or family member who wants to actually see what's going on.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe I'll delete everything that we just did, and I'll make you do it all over again next weekend.
Great.